right now on 980 CKNW.
Good morning. Thanks for being with us. More and more baby boomers are deciding to walk away from marriage. Figures released last month by Stats Canada show the divorce rates among adults in their 50s, late 50s, has reached 15%. 1.6 million are divorced or separated. But filing for a so-called gray divorce can be complicated and financially daunting. How do you mitigate some of the dramas that may come along, especially for people splitting later in life? And really, from a timing point of view, getting divorced post 55 can have dire financial consequences as well. To help us sort through some of these issues, we're joined by Diane Isaac. She's a family lawyer at the Shulman law firm in Toronto. Diana, nice to have you on our program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell me a little bit more about how, about some of the problems, the obstacles, the issues that are created by when one decides to get a divorce so much later in life.
Well, we noticed in our practice that when we're dealing with gray divorces, these are obviously longer marriages, and we're dealing with a lot more money. So these in situations when people are on the cusp of retirement or they are already retired, the funds that are being divided are quite limited because there is not necessarily a cash flow. And so the challenge that a lot of these couples face when dissolving a marriage is that there's only so many funds that they have now because the household income has gone from 2 to 1. And you always have to take that into consideration when you're retiring and what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. So it's a big financial challenge for such couples.
And just to back up for a second, in your practice, have you seen increasing numbers of people wanting divorces at, post 55?
Oh, absolutely. It's becoming a lot more prevalent. I would say a decade ago, about 10% of our clients were 50 and older. But now, at Shulman Law Firm, we're noticing that this demographic actually constitutes about 40% of our clients. So it's quite a jump.
And why? What are the major reasons for people getting a divorce at that age?
I mean, various clients, are coming in to say that I want to be able to live my life to the fullest and I want to be happy. And if I'm not, there's no longer this stigma attached to divorce. Mm-hmm. People are more financially independent. They have great jobs and their assets have accrued and they feel like they are able to sometimes financially afford this. And of course, I think just in terms of lifespan and to that effect, people are living longer and they want to live happily ever after, and that may require not living in a marriage where they're somewhat not complacent.
Yeah. What about people's pensions in terms of the cash flow and the division of assets issue? Are pension plans in play?
So sometimes they are. And, I mean, I practice in Ontario, so what we tend to do in situations when we're dealing with married couples and they're separating, the pensions are sent to an administrator to be valued or to an actuary. So we get a professional third party that would give you this value that is subject to division when you're separating. And a lot of people are surprised with that. The pensions are subject to division.
And so on what percentage, if somebody has contributed to a pension plan all their working life, then is the opposite spouse liable to get some of that money in a settlement?
Yeah, so with married couples, we are dealing with the equalization of net family properties in Ontario, and that's subject to division of not just an isolated asset, but it's your net worth. And part of your net worth is that pension. So arguably half of it is subject to division, but again, not seen as an isolated asset. It's really what you're dealing with is the net worth. But there are tax implications as well when we're talking about pensions that are taken into account.
It's got to be a tough decision to make, especially if for women who especially baby boomer women, many of whom have not been out in the workforce for quite a while. A bit of a daunting leap to all of a sudden find yourself looking for work and managing on your own. Not that women can't do that, but it's a different situation than what they might be used to.
I mean, any individual that is subject to the recipient of any support or is the low-income earner or doesn't earn an income is definitely a financial challenge. But, we do have spousal support, which is also known as alimony in the U.S., to distribute the net disposable income for a family and to somehow provide for that person that possibly didn't earn, so that they have an opportunity to leave a relationship if it's not working out.
And I'm just curious about, because on the upside, I've talked to people, women in particular, who say, I'm out of that relationship. Yes, I'm working a couple of jobs, but I'm free. I have my whole life in front of me, and no matter what it takes, I'm going to make this work because the other situation simply wasn't working and hadn't been working for some time.
I mean, a lot of people consider this as a situation where if I'm emotionally unhappy and it's somewhat toxic or dysfunctional, then I'm going to make do. And a lot of this, in terms of great divorces, it's a choice where people are saying, I don't want to be unhappy. And I understand that the dissolution of our marriage is not necessarily a cheap endeavor, that it will require work. And yes, I am, giving my pension, a part of it. And yes, maybe the household income will be less, but money isn't always the, first thing that people are considering. They have a right to have that happiness. And, we try as much as possible in situations with great divorces to recommend from the inception that they obtain advice from a financial advisor, simply to help preserve whatever funds are there and to help that person understand at this point, what lifestyle are you looking for? What did you anticipate pre-separation? Can we get you there? And what concessions do we have to make given the reality?
Diane, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for coming on the line with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That is Diana Isaac, family lawyer at the Shulman law firm based in Toronto. So what do you think divorce rates, or why do you think divorce rates are on the rise amongst baby boomers, the older generation? And if you are in that cohort and you are in the midst of or have had a divorce later in life, what made you decide to end the relationship, and how has that worked out for you? Not only in terms of financial considerations, but your overall peace of mind. Give us a shout on the Buzz line, 604-331-2899-331-BUZZ. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Nikki Reitmeyer. She will tell you about the